Hey, Wellness Warrior, Jackie Elmer here from lowertoxiclife.com. And today we're going to be covering my book review of Vani Harry's The Food Babe. Now, this book came out originally in 2015. So as of this recording, it's nearly 10 years old. And quite honestly, probably most of the data that was gathered in the book is 10 years old. But so much of it is still relevant today. Now, one of the things that I really love about Vani Hari's book is that she doesn't proclaim to be a doctor or a scientist because she's not. She's not a nutritionist. She simply shares her own personal account and her own journey as what she calls a food activist. She was overweight. She suffered from eczema and other skin disorders, allergies, asthma, stomach issues, and excess of antibiotics and steroids, all which were prescribed to deal with these other issues. Now, her parents originally immigrated here from India, and she is a firstborn American citizen raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the South, where there's typically, in the past, there's been a lot of fried foods, a unique culture, let's put it that way, different from her Indian roots from which she was raised. Now, like any family immigrating and trying to assimilate into American culture, it's easy to get caught up in things like fast food and ultra processed foods, bakery items, including bakery cakes that are filled with chemicals, microwave meals, all the conveniences of modern America, of which many of us have grown up with and become accustomed to. And when you think about all of the fake bad marketing that goes on with words like healthy, natural, enriched, different things like that, heart healthy, that are added to the labels, it can be very confusing when you have a definition in your mind of what these words mean and you come to trust these words, and then you find out there's really no legalese, if you will, associated with using this language and this marketing on foods. Well, what happened with Vani is when she was in college, after getting her typical Chick-fil-A sandwich, which she did 3 to 4 times a week, she arrived back home and collapsed on the floor with severe stomach pain. She went to the doctor. The doctor evaluated her, said there's nothing wrong with you, sent her home with a prescription to take Advil. And then ultimately she was diagnosed with and had her appendix removed. And that was what launched her into doing her own research and becoming her own body hacker. Now, one of the things that I love is that she has literally taken on so many of the big food companies and fast food chains that we all are familiar with, starting with Kraft Foods and their macaroni and cheese, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, and most recently, Kellogg's. She comes right at them with asking them, why do you have so many chemicals, food dyes, additives, natural ingredients in the exact foods that you market, serve, and sell here in the United States, but you have a different recipe and a different formula that you adhere to in the UK, other European countries, and many of the other foods and chemicals and additives that we allow here in America that are GRAS, which is generally regarded as safe. And just right here in page 25, one of the things that she did, she took on Chick-fil-A and she was able to get them to confirm that they would remove yellow dye number 5, reduce the sodium in their chicken soup recipe. And in 2014, they rolled out a new soup chain wide. She got them to remove high fructose corn syrup and artificial colors from several sauces and chemicals. And again, that was rolled out in 2014. She cites some other things in here. The important thing to note is that that is one of the best ways that we create change. It's not necessarily through someone with a big platform, although I'm certainly grateful today that so many other people with a big platform and the ability to make some noise is helping to create that change. But one person at a time, one piece of knowledge at a time, sharing it with another person, sharing it through YouTube videos, sharing it through your own experiences, that is how we become change advocates, if you will. So again, she defines herself as a food activist. And the reality of it is, I consider myself that too, although I never really spoke out about it on a big public platform. I was raised that way. I raised my children that way. I still feed my family that way. And so I don't personally care if she doesn't have a bunch of letters after her name. Does someone need to have expert status to share their own journey and say, hey, I don't know if this will work for you like it has for me, but what do you have to lose by giving it a try? It's just food. It's just water. It's just making a change. When you think of people like Rachel Carlson, who took on pesticides and chemicals in our environment, do any of us doubt that we have pesticides and chemicals in our environment that are harming us? Nope. Linus Pauling, who took on the dangers of war and nuclear radiation. Would any of us argue that there are dangers in war and nuclear radiation? Nope. So I always ask myself when I read any of these books, does it seem logical? Does it seem like other philosophies that I've read about and think to myself, yeah, I think that agrees with me? And are these things that I believe in and will also use? And then the final question, am I willing to try and test things for myself? I take on the 80-20 rule. I share that all the time. I don't necessarily agree with everything that she shares in here. There's some different things that she does in her morning routine, juicing, some different things that she does that don't serve my body well. She's a big advocate of, I think, 80% of your diet being raw. That doesn't work personally in my body super well. After body hacking, I realized that salads and a lot of raw vegetables don't settle well with my stomach. So now I prefer lightly steamed. Does that mean that it's wrong for her? No, absolutely not. Does it mean that raw vegetables are wrong for you? No, absolutely not. But the only way you'll know is to test and try things for yourself. And as she shares, and so do I, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but you can go to citations.lowertoxiclife.com where I share all of the research and data that I've gathered to lead me down the path of not only trying these things for myself, but believing them and following this advice. So again, none of this is meant as medical advice. She shares that in her book. I'm sharing that here. But she and I are both just simply sharing ideas that have worked for her, worked for me, and millions of others. So how about you? Now, one of the things that the book really covers is that she shares 21 steps and habits to get you off the treadmill of bad food. And surprise, it's all the same stuff that I've been sharing here and that you've heard elsewhere. First of all, fast food, ultra-processed foods, dairy, sugar, responsibly eating meats, eating raw, fats, cleaning out your pantry, and a lot of that type thing. And again, as I shared, this book is nearly 10 years old, so a lot has changed since it came out. My plan, first and foremost, I avoid almost all ultra-processed foods. This one step alone and this habit shift alone will lead to mass elimination of seed oils, excess sugar, refined gluten, and flours that contain wheat, corn, soy, GMOs, certainly genetically modified foods, fast food, high fructose corn syrup, chemicals you can't pronounce, preservatives, food colorings and dyes, natural flavorings, and excessive plastic packaging. When you just simply eliminate ultra-processed foods and you learn to eat the perimeter of the supermarket or do the best that you can when you go to fast foods, I was recently at Chick-fil-A and I actually ordered their chicken nuggets, non-breaded, that were grilled, just that. And then I combined that with an avocado. And I think that was about it. And I made that my meal. So I couldn't avoid fast food altogether, but I could avoid the breading and the deep fat frying and the French fries and a lot of the things that go into truly destroying our mitochondria, our microbiome, our gut, and all the good things there. So that goes along with that 80-20 rule. So some of the other things, excess dairy, make sure you watch my video here on using certain foods as a condiment, which is what I've learned to do with dairy. Now, was it easy? No, not necessarily. I love cheese and crackers. I love cheese. Most of the rest of it was easy for me to give up. And even today, I mostly choose goat and sheep's milk products, goat and sheep's milk cheese and yogurt when I do indulge. But I'm not a perfectionist, so occasionally I'll move beyond that. I no longer eat factory farmed meat unless I'm absolutely forced to, but I order from Butcher Box. There's a link below. And then again, like anything, you just do the best that you can. But kind of back to her taking on big food, here on page 228, she basically shares big food pollution. And she shares in these charts in the book, like food alerts, where she goes through Applebee's and she does a sampling of menu items that expose you to at least 10 of what she calls her sickening 15 ingredients. So I will put a link to these details in the notes below. She takes on the Cheesecake Factory, Chili's, Olive Garden. Again, just some ideas, because when you know better, you can do better. So I just recently was in a situation where I needed to eat something. I was at Costco shopping, and then I had to go to a school board meeting, and I really was hungry and I was caught short, didn't have time to go home. And so I purchased a prefab Costco chicken tacos platter. And as you can see here, it's chicken with the seasoning, with tortillas, cabbage, lettuce, limes, cheese, salsa, cilantro sauce. Now, when you look at the food label or the ingredients label, you'll see that there's over 50 ingredients, most that I cannot pronounce or buy in the store, including added wheat gluten, enriched vitamins, canola oil, safflower oil, natural flavors, and more. And really and truly, in and of itself, the chicken, the cabbage, the lettuce, the limes, and the salsa probably would have been fine. Where it ran into trouble was the seasoning on the chicken, the tortillas, obviously, the cheese, which was not the best quality of cheese, and then, of course, that cilantro sauce that had a lot of extra ingredients in it. So while it looks great in the store, when you look at this, it looks fresh, it looks nutritious, it looks like a lot of the things that I would eat in my capsule menu plan. But of course, when you dig down into it, it's not nearly as great as it sounds. I skipped the cheese, I skipped the cilantro sauce, and I skipped the tortillas and even the salsa. So I had a little bit of chicken, I had some cabbage and lettuce, and drizzled some lime over it and called it good. I'll be sharing more from The Food Babe Way by Vani Hari. She has another book that I'll share some more with you, Feeding You Lies. And, the most important thing to keep a note is, like I said, we've known for decades that our food has chemicals and toxins and poisons in it that don't feed and fuel our bodies well. We're seeing that. If you go back over the last 10 years and ask, especially as Americans, are we healthier? Are our children healthier? Is our children's life expectancy shrinking? Is it less than what ours is? Yes, the answer to all of that is yes. I mean, or it's no to are we healthier? No to are our children healthier? But it's yes that the average life expectancy is going down. But thank goodness, we're finally having the light shown on by more people with bigger platforms. And that is how we create change. That is how we hold regulatory agencies accountable, and we start creating the food and the environment that we deserve, because the people do deserve clean, healthy food, clean, healthy water, and a clean, healthy environment. Watch my video next on ultra-processed foods. Grab my guide over at lowertoxiclife.com for recipes, reading food labels, and understanding how to navigate the grocery store, how to navigate your pantry, and how to live healthier, happier, longer. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel like all the cool people, and leave me a comment and a thumbs up below.